We start the night at NBC Spartan Sports Complex for the UWS men's soccer team season opener. The Heat wasn't going to stop the Yellow Jackets from getting the season started against the Blue Golds. 20 minutes into the first half, when the Blue Golds, get their first scoring chance, is blocked by midfielder Harry Ambler. The ball stays in the zone, but Junior Carter Eastfield shoots it just wide. Then later in the half, some controversy when Blue Golds goalie Spencer Banks gets called for a handball outside of the box, which leads him to getting a red card. He's done for the night. That means goalie Mark Belknap had to come in ice cold and stop the Yellow Jackets free kick. No pressure, but that's exactly what he does, keeping us scoreless. But the deadlock score wouldn't last long. Eastfield hits a strike past the Yellow Jackets goalie to give the Blue Golds the lead. The Yellow Jackets would end up tying the game with 13 minutes left, and this opening match for both squads ends in a 1-1 draw.